This is John Ondo. At the tone, leave your name and message, and I'll get back to you.
Hey, John, it's Nancy. I was wondering when you're going to tear apart the Rockford Files open on the media download. Oh, yeah, and by the way, the Starfleet Academy show really sucks.
Hi, it's John Ondo, and we are at the Edit Suite today because, as you probably figured, we are going to take apart the infamous Rockford Files Open, which came out in 1974. We're going to look at the episode 3, the kind of the original OG version on today's program, and we're going to glean some interesting editing tips that you will be able to use in your digital nonlinear edit suite today, because we can learn a lot from the past and how we can produce for the future. I've been doing television and filmmaking, documentary production for over 40 years, and I've learned a lot of hacks and shortcuts that can help your small-time project look big-time. Would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to us, and as always, we are a service of ondomedia.com. So let's get into it. The Rockford Files from 1974 to 1980. A great private investigator show with James Garner, legendary actor, car enthusiast, and just a guy's guy. And we're going to get into the show opening. As we did a few episodes ago when we did the Mary Tyler Moore show opening, we're going to take it's actually the third episode opening. I'll explain that in a moment, why we're taking the third one and not the first one. There's a lot we can learn with what happened here. So here's just some facts, and if you want to tear into this on the interwebs, you can certainly do that. Dan Wolfe was the photographer who they hired to put together this opening sequence of photos. James Garner and him and his camera, which I don't know which kind it was. I'm going to just presume it was a Nikon. That they took a day and they set these shots up and made the opening with. Of course, no show, especially the Mary Tyler Moore show, and we're going to talk about the Hawaii Five-0 Open in a future episode. This show is none different. The opening music brought to you by the legendary Mike Post and Pete Carpenter. It went on to be a radio hit, as a lot of the Mike Post theme songs did, and it is the backbone of this open. So let's get into it a little bit. Here we are in my edit suite. I know we haven't had a tour of it yet, but we're going to talk about this someday, because I really, the ergonomics of an edit suite are really important to me, and we will talk about that. So let's get into the Rockford File Open. By the way, if anybody from Adobe's watching, I really can't stand this whole thing where the screen, and you hit your Apple mouse and then it zooms in. Will you please stop that and make it able that I could lock it? Okay, that's it. Just a quick preach on. Here is the Rockford File Open. Let's watch through it in real time.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
Jim, it's Norma at the market. It bounced. You want us to tear it up, send it back, or put it with the others?
By the way, I didn't mention, I don't own this. I have no copyrights on this. We're doing this for educational purposes. Please, no suing John Ondo. Okay, so that's a great open. Great music. Let's get into it. First of all, why did I pick episode 3? Well, episodes 1 and 2 were the pilot episode. And in the very beginning shot, which is this infamous desktop pan, in the pilot episode, it was a shot of his mobile home, and I thought, that's not really the Rockford File Open. That was the pilot opening. So again, this, if you're not from the 70s, you probably didn't know this, but if you're from the 70s or 80s, this is an iconic open, and every show open was different. They did the same video, but they changed the voiceover, as I did in my beginning here, with the beginning. So this one's different. On later ones, I don't know, season 2, this is a kind of a handheld shot. They changed it to a pan of the desk.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
Jim,
That's called an answering machine for those of you who are too young to know.
it's Norma at the market. It bounced. You want us to tear it up, send it back, or put it with the others?
Okay, so here we go. Back into the open. Music's going to begin, and there's a lot of quick cuts on this one. And so I want to take some time and break those apart for you. So first of all, here's the music. I'm just going to kind of play it, and we'll come back and look at it. So right there, the first shots on the open. Let me roll this back, and you can see what I've gone through. I've taken the timeline in Adobe Adobe Premiere, the new Adobe Premiere, which says only Premiere now on the top of my corner. I don't know what you guys are doing anymore. Anyway, so we have a lot of, I think, 3-frame cuts here, still photos. Obviously, Los Angeles in the 70s, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cut to another nighttime shot. Hollywood sign, Rolls Royce. And again, as we always say, we're telling a story. The story is we're in Los Angeles. And then we go into the Los Angeles 10 sign. If you know Southern California, that's a big deal. That one's a moving shot, but it's I don't believe it's moving. These are all still photos. And then they cut to this next shot. And then they jump cut. So again, real quickly here. Now, a couple things I want to make note of. Dan Wolf, who is the gentleman who shot these photos with James Garner, the theory, the feel, the vibe was telephoto, long lens, something a private investigator would use. And these are not shots from the show. Now, again, the reason we're using episode number 3, first season, this was the untouched open. Later on, as they often do in these types of series, to update new characters or whatever, they toss in screen grabs, if you will, from the show. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, why that is just heresy. So this is the unadulterated original photos. So here we go. We go from those 2 shots. The Trans Am shot. Whoops, sorry. First thing, not a Trans Am. E-Spirit. It's a Pontiac E-Spirit. It looks like a Trans Am, but the E-Spirit was a different trim level. And actually, James Garner preferred it, and Pontiac gave them, I think, 2 or 3 cars with their big budget to use for cars. So, anyways, the E-Spirit, the Pontiac here. This pan shot, and then we're going to get into, after the little quick pan, into something that the editor of this open does a lot. It's these dissolve. So again, if you understand still photography, of course, nowadays with a cell phone, you can just whip off shots. In these days, you had 35 millimeter film and an automatic motor loader. I know it rhymes, that you pop in there and and that's how you would take, and it sounded like that. That's how you would take these rapid pace shots like this with the film. So he's snapping off these shots, and they do a very nice technique that I have actually used in modern day HD video, where I've taken stills to do some little dissolves. And how you do this is, you see they run about 1 second, dissolve to the next frame, dissolve to the next frame. And these are not match shots. You can tell telephone pole or whatever that is in the background's moving, but it gives you the illusion of movement. Again, why not just put a live video of James Garner walking toward the camera? Because the concept was, this is what a private investigator would be doing, shooting somebody from far away, his movements. So again, watch it again. And it goes with the synth going on here with Mike Post and Pete Carpenter with the music. So we go into a series of these. Dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. That one happens late. They will push. Now, let me speculate with not a lot of intelligence here. in 1974, when this was produced, and really way up into the 80s, there was no digital. Everything was analog. Everything was film. They didn't have special effects to push into things like we do now. So typically, my understanding, and boy, if anybody's out there who has had any experience in this, I would love to hear from you, because I would love to do a show more on this technology. Typically, you would have a projection studio where they would project the film, the motion picture film, or the stills, and then those stills or motion pictures would be shot by another camera, and they would use those to create effects where you could push into these shots here. So that is the same thing as doing an Adobe After Effects push-in, changing the scaling, but you're doing it with probably another camera shooting the still against a wall in a studio somewhere. The thing I don't know is the camera locked down and the projector pushes the image, or is the projection locked down and the camera's pushing in like a normal studio camera would? I don't know. So if you know something about this, bleep bloop it in the comments below. So again, long push in here, dissolve to his look there. Most of these dissolves are about a second long, if I remember, from what you can see here. Again, music cut here. Now, unlike the Mary Tyler Moore Open, which had lyrics, this doesn't have that. So obviously, we're cutting to the music on this one. So again, you can see here in the effect where the music is. Now, and I want to talk a little bit about cutting the music. Something I learned here today, looking at this open, which I thought was interesting. So several shots here. And what I want you to look at, and this is something that I have been years and years of editing, music videos, show opens, different things like this. Look at this on my timeline. You can see right here's the beat that's happening here. And the cut, the actual cut happens there. It happens about a frame late. I don't believe it's because of my monitors. I don't believe it's because of the film transfer rate or anything like that. I think that this has proven to me what I've always suspected, but I've never looked at anybody else's work to prove it, that you typically need to let the beat happen a frame or so before the video changes, because you need to hear it before the frame changes. That makes sense? So, and this kind of proves that this came straight off of the video. There's the beginning of the beat change, but there's a frame before the video. But when you play it back, it feels like it's on the beat, but really it's a frame off, because I think you need that mental time. Now, somebody out there, again, you may say, oh, there's a better explanation for that, John. Please comment below. That's my own way of looking at it, that you need the audio to hit just a little bit before the video. So that's kind of interesting. And I think for those of you who are horror film buffs, that would tend to apply, because you typically hear the sound effect of the knife before you see the reaction of the knife or whatever else. I think you lead the audio just a little bit, and this proves it. So let's go back. So we changed the music here. Now they're cutting a little bit more to the harmonica. Have you noticed that? So we started off kind of so they're doing that, and yes, the sound effects come with me. They're cutting there for that. 2 cop shots, very nice. And again, notice the color and the graininess of it. Again, in order to do these effects in 1974, you had to do what we used to refer to in video as we'd have to go down a generation. So the slide is being projected on the wall, and then it's being reshot with a motion camera of some sort. And that means you're automatically going to lose some quality. This isn't the digital world where we don't lose hardly any quality at all, but that does allow you to darken and make it a little grainier, because you're going to lose a little bit of quality whenever you're shooting a picture of a picture, right? Okay, so here we go. So cut. And again, what I love about doing this open is like these have I've seen this open a million times, but to see and look up close at the shots, what were these? Where were these at? Did they stage them? I suspect that they did. the shot of Jim, and then this is one of my favorite dissolve sequences here, where he does this little puff on the cigarette thing. Again, it's still telling a story, even though there's no lyrics. Again, getting ready for a gig. The E-Spirit. I love this shot. This is a great shot. It's out of focus. It's in motion. Again, all playing into this whole theory that you're capturing, Jim Rockford doing what he does. Another 101 sign. Again, that's one of the classic shots of kind of I would call it the iconic shot. If you want to go back to the Mary Tyler Moore Show and her throwing the hat, which is kind of like a graduation moment, I've just always loved this shot because it to me, they probably didn't think about this when they shot it, but what it says to me is James Garner, Jim Rockford, is the pillar amongst all the confusion and all the motion going on in life. He is the focus. Everybody else is out of focus here, but he is obvious, and he's just got his arms crossed, like, yeah, whatever. And again, this sequence here, so we get this dissolve, Bel Air, which of course obviously is a Southern California thing. The push out. I always love those two cuts right there. If anything says PI, it's guy with binoculars. The only special effect I think we see in this whole thing as we go through, it's a great special effect of him coming out behind this wall here. It's a nice simple look. And if you look at it, it's not the same. I haven't looked at this before. This is not a reverse of the same photo, is it? Because the reflections on his glasses are different. I always had looked at this and thought it's just the photo reversed coming out. It's not. It is. They are two different photos of him. No, it's not a flip shot. It's a reflection of a building in it. I've never noticed that before. I always had thought they flipped it, but you can see right there, it is not. Got to zoom into the dissolve of him asking, I assume, for directions. Again, notice the cut right with the beat. And then here comes the harmonica, leading the harmonica. Just a second. Bump, bump, bump. There's where his cut was. Another great sequence here. Again, dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. They're pushing in. This tilt-up shot. Love the expression, says everything. This is another great shot. You'll see this, I think they used this for the credits at the end. Final sequence. This is kind of fun. We got a couple little nuggets in here. Let's watch it through real time, and I'll back it up. That's the final sequence. Let's take a look at it. It goes from there. A really cool shot, and again, for those of you who are photographers, and I love photography, and you can see here the reflection, the watered down street, whether they did that or if it was just natural. Probably they did that. So we go from that shot of somebody running on the beach, very LA, shot of Los Angeles street. How, and it's subliminal enough you see it. Another shot, I assume, of the 5 or the 10. Whoops. Shot of sunsets. We've seen one of Mary Tyler Moore. We will see many in the Hawaii 5 Open when we look at it in a few weeks. Sunset. And then you see the scantily bathing suit girl. So fast the network probably would have pulled it, but it's real fast. And here we go with the final shot that then cuts to black. And of course, as a kid and a Chevy fan myself, I was the guy who always said, look, Dad, it's a 72 Impala. Because I don't know history or a lot of things in life, but I can tell you that's a 72 Impala with, I believe, a vinyl top. So that's pretty cool. That's it. Okay. But what I want to break apart for you in the next few moments is, why did you see season 4 and 5 and they hack into these opens and they put new shots in because they want to show more characters or whatever? Well, I want to go into that and why they look wrong. And I'm going to do that by showing you something I worked on yesterday. About a year or so ago, when I had thought about doing this podcast, there was a website that had all of Dan Wolf's photos. I think it was actually his website. And all of these photos were available, and I should have downloaded them when they were there, because they're not there anymore. The site's gone. There are still a few places on Facebook that people have actually got some of these photos from the original shoot. And it's really great to look at. Matter of fact, we'll take a look at a couple of them. This is the shot of him zooming out we showed earlier. I'm going to turn this down just a smidge here. This is the shot of him from earlier, zooming out. This is one of the shots. This is the original shot from that. Now, it's not the same shot, but it's basically in the series of sequences he took a picture of him. You can really see how wide. There's actually another one. Here it is. That gives you a perspective, especially those of you who are into photography. That's like a 200 millimeter, 300 millimeter lens that he's pulling the shot off with. So here's what we're going to do. I took that, if you will, clean shot that was put online, and I dropped it into the open, and this is what it looks like. So let me back it up like a couple shots, and we'll watch it. Okay, did you catch that? You can see let me play back the original again real fast. Original. And now here's the one I just laid in of the other shot. Doesn't seem right, does it? And this goes to when you're editing and maybe you've added effects or you're dropping something in from somebody's got maybe some work and they want you to patch it or something. You've got to be careful about not only matching the shot, but how the texture of the shot is. So again, this is the shot I put in. Again, the quality is probably not the same because it's not a high resolution picture. Let's take a look. Let's just take a look at the original again. There's the original, and there's this one. It doesn't match. Why? Because it doesn't have the same color correction. So let's drop in a little brightness and contrast. You could get really into this if you wanted to. Now, it's not identical. It's a little bit more saturated than the new one. Let's see how that feels. Starting to feel a little better. Let me turn off the brightness again. It feels wrong. Now, let's do one more thing. So I'm going to add some noise. So let's add in noise. See that? I'm adding it. Let's watch that again. Now, suddenly, it feels like that's the normal shot in the open, isn't it? So again, let's just take off those two effects. Feels wrong. A little noise, a little brightness contrast. Feels like it's part of the open. Why do the shots that they add in down the line in 77 and 78 look wrong? Because one, these were all shots that Dan Wolf did spontaneously. You can tell there's no light, there's no flash lighting or anything like that. It's just regular natural light, and it looks very natural. The shots they put in the later opens that were screen grabs from the actual beautifully lit 35 millimeter film don't fit, and you could see it a mile away. And every TV show sitcom does this when they want to update their opens. They just hack into them, and I'm sure Dan and all the people who had a part of this open went, "Why did you do that?" I don't know. But if they could have done a little grain and a little color correction, it would have looked fine. The point of the story is details matter. In this era, in 1974, you have very limited color correction. You were working with mono audio tracks on optical film in a lot of cases. These pictures, these sitcoms, these dramas were played back on 16 millimeter films in network control rooms back then. So it's a completely different world now in our digital world because basically, as I've said, television became the first into the nonlinear world and filmmaking followed behind. Now we're all editing on Adobe Premiere or Sony or whatever you're using, DaVinci. But essentially, you've got the same tool set and details matter. You can't just throw an uncolor corrected clip in, you've got to color correct. You can't just throw in. I know a lot of people who are really picky about color correction, and they don't do a thing to their audio. They don't add any compression. They don't put some limiters on there, and their audio's all over the place. Well, that's distracting. That makes your video feel weird because your audio's messed up. Details matter. And we can learn a lot just from this whole project about how to cut and how to edit. And this is a great open. So let's do as we do. We're going to watch through it one more time with the timeline to get a feel for the whole project. And great open. Thank you, Dan Wolf, for an amazing job of putting together an open for a network television show with a bunch of stills. Incredible. And the Rockford Files apparently is coming back. And I assume they'll do, because as we know, Hollywood can't come up with anything new. When they do, it's normally garbage. Star Trek, Starfleet Academy. Who said that? They can't come up with anything new, so the best thing to do is go back to the classics. So they're bringing back the Rockford Files. I hope they can do justice to this open, and I hope they keep the James Garner vibe to the project, but I'm typically woefully disappointed with all those things, and I'm sure you are as well. But anyway, I hope you had a little fun with this. Yes. People are saying, when are you going to do the Hawaii Five-0 Open? I'm telling you, there is a lot to dig up in the Hawaii Five-0 Open. I've been doing my homework on this one because I want to get it right, and I want you to watch it. It'll be coming up in a few more episodes. But the whole purpose of the media download is to give you hacks and shortcuts to take small budget projects and make them look big time. And that's what I've been doing for over 40 years. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to it and let us know, because that helps us out. We're brought to you each week by ondomedia.com. And if you need media consulting for a nonprofit, fundraising, or just to build your media team, give me a holler. I would love to help you out. Thanks so much. Your media download is complete.